Good afternoon, guys. Welcome to the 39th lecture of Environmental Engineering subject. So today we are in the Unit 4, second lecture of Unit 4. So in the first class, we have discussed about the basic introduction of secondary treatment process. What are the various processes involved in this secondary treatment? Now, in this session, we will discuss about the concept of wastewater microbiology treatment and also the various types of ponds in this secondary treatment process. Okay. So we are discussing these concepts. Okay. Next one. So coming to the various types of treatment process, this figure will be till your end of this unit. Okay. So we have already completed the first phase, the primary treatment. So we are going with the secondary treatment process. That is a second phase, right? Okay. So in the secondary phase, we are dealing with various things like this: aerated tank, clarifiers, activated sludge process, and various treatment process in the secondary treatment thing. Okay. So, as already said, that it is a biological treatment process to remove the dissolved oxygen matter from the wastewater. So, what is the approach here? The organic carbon plus oxygen, introduction of microorganisms, it converts into carbon dioxide plus new formation of cells. So the basic approach is to use aerobic biological degradation. Okay, the sewage microorganisms are cultivated and added to the wastewater. The microorganisms use organic matter from sewage as their food supply. This process leads toward decomposition or biodegradation of the organic waste. Okay, next. So we already discussed the composition of wastewater. So what is the composition of wastewater? See this one. So if you get a question, you have to write the biological oxygen demand, the suspended solids, the settable solids, the tidal nitrogen process, and the total phosphorus concept. So now we'll discuss this slide in detail. Okay. So what's the question here? How the microorganisms used in wastewater treatment? So microorganisms, how you are using the wastewater treatment, as well as what are the basic considerations of wastewater microbiology, how the microorganisms used in wastewater treatment process, and what are the basic considerations of wastewater microbiology. So the microorganisms are used in secondary treatment is to remove the organics and ammonia to reduce biochemical oxygen demand. So in all biological processes, energy is gained through oxidation and reduction reactions. Okay, so in all the biological processes, energy is gained through oxidation or reduction reactions that involves transfer of the electrons from the substrate. So transfer of electrons from the food source to the acceptor, that is general reaction. Right? So if you see the general reaction here, transfer of electrons from the substrate or food surface, what you are having in this water, that is organic substrate, to an acceptor, right? So if you see the food sources, what are the materials present in a food source? In the secondary wastewater means the organic material plus ammonia. So the food sources, that is the organic materials or ammonia present in the wastewater, gives rise to the electronic acceptor, that is argon dioxide plus carbon dioxide, oxygen plus carbon dioxide. So, if you see how the microorganisms grow, so we require some of the things. What are the things here? The electronic acceptor, that is oxygen plus carbon dioxide. So in all the microorganisms, so the acceptor is oxygen plus carbon dioxide. To grow the microorganisms, we require an electron donor for energy production, electron donor for the energy production, an electron acceptor for energy production, right? Micro, the macronutrients, if you see the carbon plus nitrogen to build up the cells, the phosphorus for energy production in ATP and DNA. So when coming to the micronutrients, the vitamins and minerals are important. And the appropriate environmental conditions are moisture, temperature, and pH value. So coming to the macronutrients, the carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus for energy production, and for the micronutrients, vitamins and minerals. The biological processes can be classified by the electron acceptor, right? The aerobic processes use oxygen as an electric acceptor, and anaerobic process use other compounds. So already we discussed that for the secondary process, we require aerobic process and anaerobic process. In the aerobic process, the oxygen uses as electron acceptor, whereas in the anaerobic process, the other compounds are used. So see the aerobic decomposition, how it taking place in the water. So in the aerobic decomposition, organic matter and ammonia, organic matter and ammonia are metabolized aerobically. Aerobically means in the presence of oxygen during the secondary treatment. Okay. So what happens in the aerobic decomposition? So in MGL, we have to decompose by adding some of the microorganisms in the water. So how we are adding? See here, in the presence of oxygen, the organics plus oxygen, right? Organic matter plus ammonia are metabolized aerobically during the secondary treatment. That is organics plus oxygen gives rise to what? Carbon dioxide plus water. Okay. So if you see the ammonia, NH3 plus 2 oxygen, 2 times oxygen gives rise to NO3 minus plus water plus hydrogen. So these are the results whenever you are using aerobic decomposition concept. The aerobic organisms grow rapidly and create high sludge volumes. Okay, so in the presence of oxygen, these organisms grow rapidly and create what? High sludge volumes. Okay, next coming to the anaerobic decomposition process. So in this anaerobic decomposition process, what happens? It is used to remove the nitrates. It is used to remove the nitrates and for digestion of the sludge from the sedimentation basins. Okay, so in the aerobic decomposition, what happens here? So it creates a high sludge volumes. Whereas in the anaerobic decomposition, it is used to remove the nitrates for digestion of sludge from the sedimentation basins. So if you see the reaction of this one, organics plus nitrates, okay, gives rise to nitrogen plus carbon dioxide plus H2O, water, that is the nitrates is a negative acceptor, electron acceptor. Okay, so if you see in the organics, so organics plus whatever the carbon dioxide is coming gives rise to methane CH4 plus carbon dioxide, where CO2 is a electron acceptor. The anaerobic organisms grow very slowly, but they produce low sludge volumes. So whereas in this aerobic concept, what happens? The organisms grow rapidly because of oxygen presentation and creates high sludge. Whereas in anaerobic organisms, they grow slowly and produce low sludge volumes because of absence of oxygen and also the presence of CH4. Okay. So these are the two processes generally happens whenever the secondary process we are using for the decomposition process. Okay, one is anaerobic, one is aerobic in the presence of oxygen, aerobic which is a in absence of oxygen. These are the main comparisons in this concept. So that is the first concept. That is, what is the first concept in the syllabus? Aerobic and anaerobic treatment process and their comparison. Okay, so this has been completed. Next, coming to the next one. So whenever you get any definition of aerobic decomposition, you have to write this equations. Okay, so whenever you are getting anaerobic decomposition, you have to write this concept. Okay, so the next one, how the oxygen is utilized in the secondary treatment plant. We'll see how the oxygen is utilized in the secondary treatment plant. See the first point here, the organic waste discharged to the receiving stream, right? So these are organic waste. Whenever the sewage water, whenever the water is collected in the treatment plants, so what we are doing, we are adding, discharging or adding organic waste into the receiving stream. Later, the aerobic microorganisms use up oxygen to metabolize the organic waste. So this second one, so the first case, the second concept is aerobic microorganisms use what? Use of oxygen to metabolize organic waste. So they take this concept. They take this concept, metabolize the aerobically this process. Okay. Next, coming to the third one, biological activity takes place, creates the oxygen deficit in stream. Biological activity creates the oxygen deficit in the stream. Next, what is the fourth point here? The fourth point is aquatic organisms requiring oxygen. Aquatic organisms requiring the oxygen to survive, die off, or migrate downstream. So here the aquatic organisms requires oxygen to live. Right or not? So in the water, if the microorganisms are produced themselves, these aquatic organisms have to survive because they have to produce a waste. They have to produce a waste, that is sludge or scum, so that it will easily remove of the secondary treatment process. Next, coming to the fifth stage. So in the fifth stage, in the absence of oxygen, that is anaerobic microorganisms dominate. So what happens in the later stage? So in the absence of oxygen, anaerobic treatment process takes place, thereby it dominates the microorganisms. What is the sixth point here? The anaerobic activity causes putrefaction and odors. Okay, the anaerobic activity. So what is the result of the anaerobic activity? It causes a putrefaction process and a smell, bad smell from the water. So this chart is how the oxygen is utilized by the anaerobic microorganisms and odor production by anaerobic microorganisms. This is also one sort of comparison. Okay, next one. So in the wastewater treatment system, the main components, three main components in the wastewater component system are, first one is a collection or conveyance system. Second one is a treatment system. Third one is a disposal management. So if you see the three things, so the collection and conveyance is already discussed in the unit 1 and 2, right? So coming to the treatment process, we are having primary treatment process, secondary treatment process, and advanced treatment process. So after the wastewater has been collected, right? After the wastewater has been collected and transported to the plant, it is the time for treatment to begin. Okay, once the water is collected from various channels, what are the three various channels? Storm water, industrial water, domestic water. So these are collected and transported to the sewer pipes to the main treatment plant. It is the time for treatment of the process. It will stop. Then what is the point here? The wastewater typically contains organic and inorganic contaminants. So what's happening here? It has organic and inorganic contaminants, the pathogens and other contaminants. Okay. So what are the wastewater is coming to the plant for treatment? It contains organic and inorganic contaminants, pathogens and other things. It is desirable to remove most of the solids. So generally in the primary process, the main concept is to remove the solids through the the collectors, to the bar racks. It is desirable to remove the most of the solids from wastewater before discharging due to the impact on the receiving stream. Okay, next, it is desirable to reduce the nutrients content. It is desirable to reduce nutrient content of wastewater before discharge due to the impact on the receiving stream. Okay, means excessive algae growth and eventual oxygen depletion takes place. That's why before discharging into the receiving stream, so we have to reduce the nutrient content of the wastewater. Okay, next one. Water treatment process. So if you want to write in detail, or if you want to know clearly what's happening in the primary treatment process, what's happening in the secondary treatment process, what's happening in advanced treatment process, you can see this slide. So in the primary treatment process, so what we have discussed earlier, so this is a preliminary treatment process. So what does the screening do? Removes the rags, sticks, big debris and other debris, protects pumping equipment. So if pumping equipment through gravity, it removes the solid pieces. Screening, that is a bar rags, sticks and other debris. Next, degritting, removes the settable inorganic grit. So whatever the material which is settling at the bottom of the any containers, it will remove the settable inorganic grit. And next what one? Pre-aeration. Pre-aeration means adds oxygen to the wastewater to reduce the odor. So in the pre-aeration, what happens? It adds the oxygen to wastewater to reduce what? To reduce the odors. Right? Next. Flow metering and sampling. So what does it do? This one measures and record the flows, how much flow of water is coming, right? How much inflow, how much outflow. It measures the records and flows, sample water for analysis of the component. Okay, next. So that these are the four basic things happening in the preliminary treatment process. Next, coming to the primary treatment. So sedimentation and flotation. So removes the settable organic and inorganic particles and floating debris such as fats, oils, and greases. So this is already mentioned in the unit 3. Next. So the secondary treatment, in this secondary treatment, what we are having? Biological treatment process as well as a sedimentation process. So in the secondary treatment, we are having basic thing, that is suspended growth process and attached growth process. So in the suspended growth process, we are having activated sludge process. The principles of activated sludge process, the design and operation things, modification of the different types of activated sludge processes, and the oxidation ponds and the aerated lagoons. And in the next attached treatment process, we are having trickling filters, mechanism of impurities removal, classification, design, operation, and the maintenance of the problems. That is RBCs, fluidized bed reactors. So these all things happens in the secondary treatment process. Okay. So in the biological treatment, what does it do? It removes the dissolved and remaining colloidal organic matter. It converts ammonia nitrogen to the nitrate nitrogen. So in the anaerobic process lo ammonia nitrogen nunchi nitrate nitrogen laga convert చేస్తుంది. It's also known as non-settable organic matter. So in the primary process, we are having settable organic inorganic matter. Here we are having non-settable. Okay, next one is sedimentation. So what happens in the sedimentation? Separates biomass. It separates the biomass and chemical precipitates from the treated wastewater. Okay, so this happens in the secondary treatment process. Next, coming to the third one, that is advanced treatment process. So here, the chemical phosphorus removal. What happens here? It adds chemicals. It adds chemical to form precipitate with phosphorus for removal in the secondary clarifiers. Second one, biological nutrient removal. It removes what? It removes the nitrogen and phosphorus using specialized microorganisms dumping in the water. Next, multimedia filtration. So removes additional suspended solids, right? Using the gravity or pressure filters. So what does it do here? It removes the additional suspended solids, SS suspended solids using gravitational force or by using the filters mechanism. That happens in this multimedia filtration process. Next one is disinfection. So this disinfection, what happens in the tertiary treatment, they use some sort of chemicals, right? Whenever the whenever in the tertiary treatment, the effluent treatment, whenever the effluent water is coming outside, they will add this sort of disinfection chemicals to kill what? To kill pathogen organisms. Next one is sludge treatment, solid treatment process. So this solid treatment process you can see at the bottom. So if you draw any figure, treatment plant, దాని కింద ఉంటుందన్నమాట, right? The sludge disposable management అంటారు. So in here, the solid disposable management, digestion and disposement. So in the digestion, what happens here? It stabilizes remaining organic matter, reduces pathogens levels, result in the overall net reduction in the solids. Whereas in the disposal of the things, moves stabilized solids from plant to farmland for recycling of the landfill. So disposal methods ఏం చేస్తున్నాము? It moves stabilized solids from plant to the farmlands for recycling or to landfill. Okay, these are the main water treatment processes done in any wastewater plant. Okay, next one, the secondary treatment. We are calling them as a biological treatment also. Okay, so don't confuse, secondary treatment is equal to biological treatment process. So what is the main concept of secondary treatment? It is a biological treatment process used to remove what? Dissolved and suspended organic matter from the water being treated. Next, second one, purpose. What is the purpose of the secondary treatment? To eliminate the dissolved and the non-settable organic material known as colloidal. ఏదైతే you are having colloidal జరుగుతుందో in water, non-settable material, non-settable organic materials, in order to dissolve, eliminate the dissolved and non-suitable organic material remaining in the waste after primary treatment by introducing what? By introducing microorganisms, by using aerated treatment and anaerobic treatment, aerobic treatment and anaerobic treatment. Next one. Next, impact. So what is the impact happening whenever you are using this purpose of the secondary treatment? A biological treatment process is a living process. Why? Because you are using aerobic process, right? A biological treatment process is a living process and is susceptible to many outside influences. What are the outside influences? Temperature effects, which would result from the industrial sources, wet weather conditions, or seasonal effects. So the temperature effects also, it influences. Why? Because it is a biological treatment process, is a living concept process. That's why the many factors will include in this. That what is the first factor? Temperature effects. So what does it do? Coming from various industrial resources, wet weathers, conditions, events, seasons, and seasonal effects. Second one, drastic increase in our organic loading. So drastic increasing in the shock loads, which often originate with industrial sources. This happens in the industry point of view. So these are the two impacts happens when now the secondary treatment process goes on. Okay, next. So coming to the type of ponds, that is oxidation ponds. So in the secondary treatment process, we are having the various type of oxidation ponds. In that, the first one is a aerobic pond. Next one is anaerobic pond. Third one is a facultative pond. Fourth one is aerated pond. So we will see this one in detail. Okay. So in this aerobic pond, so it is generally of shallow pond. It is a shallow pond designed to treat the wastewater under aerobic conditions, right? So what is the type? What is the meaning of aerobic pond? It is a shallow. Shallow means less depth, so it will be visible inside local water, the ground ఎలా ఉంటుందో it will be visible, right? So a small depth, అంటే just మనకి few feet of depth ఉంటుందన్నమాట. It is a shallow pond designed to treat wastewater under aerobic conditions. Oxygen is supplied by the absorption of the water. Oxygen is supplied by absorption at the water air interface through photosynthesis process. It is a microbial process. Through photosynthesis, oxygen is supplied by the at the water-air interface. Next, second one, what is the second one? Anaerobic process. In the anaerobic process, the shallow pond designed to operate in the absence of dissolved oxygen. So in the anaerobic process, what happens? The same shallow pond we are using, designed to operate what? In the absence of dissolved oxygen. In the absence of dissolved oxygen. Anaerobic activity can generate what? So ఇందాక మనం చెప్పుకున్నట్టు ammonia and the nitrate things. So we are getting odors, smell, and therefore not a popular choice for treatment in the populated areas. So this anaerobic process can be done in the less populated areas. That's why aerobic process is generally used for the treatment of wastewater in the populated areas. Why? Because it generates what? Odors. Next, third type of pond is facultative. So here it combines the aerobic process and anaerobic treatment. Simply facultative means it is a combination of aerobic and anaerobic process. Aerobic treatment occurs in the upper portion, right? So if we have a pond undanukondi, if you are having a shallow pond, so the depth is of 5 feet or 4 feet. So in the upper level we are having aerobic process. The lower level we are having a anaerobic process, right? So aerobic treatment occurs in the upper portion of the pond. Aerobic treatment process occurs in the upper concept of the upper portion of the pond, right? Upper portion of the pond, whereas where the oxygen is available from the photosynthesis process and absorption of the wet weather. Solids which settable to the bottom of the pond are decomposed anaerobically, right? So that's why if you see, for example, in aquarium also, if your aquarium motor is switched off for a long time, so the fishes also will come to the top surface of the water and will rotate on the top surface of the water. Why? So in order to get the oxygen through photosynthesis process, whatever the plants or whatever the atmosphere outside is there, on the surface of the upper layer of the water, definitely the oxygen is present. That's why the fishes will come on the top of the surface of the water for oxygen, right? That's why if you keep the motor frequently, every time the fishes will be at the lower bottom or on the middle areas of the aquarium, right? So aerobic treatment occurs in the upper portion of the pond where oxygen is available from photosynthesis and absorption at the water or air interface. So therefore the solids which settle at the bottom of the pond are decomposed. Which solids? Organic solids will decompose aerobically. So అర్థమైంది కదా, in the facultative process, aerobic process takes place in upper pond, whereas anaerobic process takes place in the lower portion of the pond. Next, fourth one is, so this is the first one, so this is the second one. So if you get a question just like a class, what are the classifications of a, what are the various types of bonds, or what are the various types of oxidation bonds annappudu, you can write these four things, right? The fourth one is the irrigated pond. So what happens in the irrigated pond? Similar to the facultative pond, except deeper, ranging in the depth of 20 feet. So here, the shallow low, you are having different variations, right? Less than 20 feet, ranging before or less than or greater than. So here, the aerobic treatment occurs in upper portions of the pond, extended depth provided to allow the long-term storage of the settled solids. So whenever we require to settle the solids for long term, aerated pond process is used. It requires mechanical aeration to maintain aerobic conditions in upper portions of the pond. Okay, in upper portions of the pond, it requires mechanical aeration to maintain the aerobic conditions. So these are the four types of ponds we are using in this oxidation pond in the secondary treatment process, right? Next. So if you see the introduction, the history of the secondary treatment, so as already we explained, as already we said that the secondary stage of treatment allows about 85% of organic matter in the sewage by making use of bacteria in it. So what does it do? The secondary stage of treatment removes 85% of organic matter by making use of bacteria, right? By making use of aerobic or anaerobic bacteria. The principle of secondary treatment techniques used in the secondary treatment are trickling filter and activated sludge process. Okay, the principles used in the secondary treatment techniques are trickling filters and activated sludge process. The next one, after effluent. So what's the meaning of effluent? We said that the treated wastewater. After effluent leaves the sedimentation tank in the primary stage, it flows or pumped to the facility using one or the other of these processes. Okay, a trickling filter is simply a bed of stones. Okay, no? A trickling filter means simply a bed of stones from 3 to 6 feet deep. Okay, from 3 to 6 feet deep through which the sewage passes. Okay, so a trickling filter, what's the meaning of trickling filter? A trickling filter is simply the bed of stones where you are having at the bottom layer of the any tank from 3 to 6 feet deep through which the sewage passes, right? So that is the meaning of the trickling process. So if you see the secondary treatment process, the influent means, as we said, that untreated wastewater coming from the primary process. So the influent is passing into this chamber, So aeration tank. So what we said, the aeration tank. So through the air inside the aeration tank, the air is passed inside the tank. Thereby the water is flowing here, right? So the suspended solids, whatever the solid materials, whatever the sludge is disposing, is settling at the bottom of this one, and a balanced treated water is going in this direction. Again, this sludge water is going in this way, and again is taking the direction, and it is coming to the same aeration tank for further treating of the water. Thereby, the balance material water is treated, that is the treated wastewater is coming out as a effluent. So like this in the second treatment process, what happens? These recycling stages takes place, removes 85% of what? It removes 85% of the organic matter by introducing aeration tank in the bacteria concept. So this is a activated secondary treatment process. In this way, the simple line diagram of the secondary treatment process goes, right? Next. So if you see the other concept of the sedimentation tank, wait for 2 minutes. So here, so in this process, so the most recently interlocking pieces of corrugated plastic or other synthetic media have also been using the trickling beds. Bacteria gather and multiply on these stones. So in the trickling filter, what happens? Bacteria will gather on the multiply on these stones until they can consume most of the organic matter, right? The cleaner water trickles out through the pipes for further treatment process. So what does the bacteria do in the trickling treatment? The bacteria gather and multiply. on the stones until they consume most of the organic matter. And from the trickling filter, the partially treated sewage flows to another sedimentation tank and removes what? Excess bacteria. That's happening in the trickling filter. Now, the trend today is towards the use of activated sludge process instead of trickling filters. So, as already said that in the sedimentary treatment process, we are having activated sludge process and trickling filter process. So, instead of trickling filter, that is activated growth process, we are using activated sludge process in the today concept. The activated sludge process speeds up the work of bacteria by bringing air and sludge heavily laden with bacteria into the close contact with the sewage. After the sewage leaves the settling tank in the primary stage, it is pumped on into an aeration tank where it is mixed up with air and sludge loaded with the bacteria and allows to remain for several hours. During this time, what happens? The bacteria break down into organic matter into harmless byproducts. So like this, the concept takes place in the activated sludge process. So this will be discussed later in the other classes. Now the sludge, which is called now the activated with additional billions of bacteria and other tiny organisms. What does it do? It can be used again by returning it to the aeration tank. Okay, for mixing with air and new sewage. From the aeration tank, what happens? From the aeration tank, the partially treated sewage flows to the other sedimentation tank for the removal of excess bacteria. To complete the secondary treatment process, effluent from the sedimentation tank is usually disinfected with the chlorine before being discharged into the receiving stream. At the end of the sedimentation tank and the starting of the tertiary treatment, so whenever the pipe is flowing through the sedimentation through the secondary treatment, the tertiary treatment, you are having a disinfected bottle. So in this you are having a chlorine. So we are adding chlorine and this water, effluent water, before going into the next receiving stream. Okay, the chlorine is fed into the water to kill what? Pathogens, to kill pathogenic bacteria and to reduce the smell. Right? This chlorination process will kill 99% of the harmful bacteria in the effluent. Right? So this happens generally in the ending of the treatment process. If you see the figure here, I'll show the figure here. So you have to keep this figure in mind till the end of your all the treatment process, right? See here. So sorry. So whenever the secondary treatment process, water is coming from the aeration tank and it is passing in the aeration tank lo manaki aerobic and anaerobic process jarugutundi, right? See here, the settable materials are coming down and staying on the bottom layer. So these are the trickling filters where the stones are settled. Thereby the water is treated and going into this pipe. And in the secondary clarifier, the solid components are coming down, forming the activated sludge and again going into the other pipeline, the effluent water. So what they are calling this one as secondary effluent. So when the secondary effluent is discharging to the surface water or other treatment stage, so a disinfectant, see the yellow color, disinfectant, that is chlorine is added. Chlorine is added into the effluent water. Why? In order to kill the pathogenic bacteria and also reduce the odor. That's happening in the end stage of the secondary treatment, right? So with this, we'll stop here. The time is completed. So once the video is uploaded on YouTube channel, I will forward this link to the WhatsApp group so that you can watch the video, right? So the treatment plant also, if you want to show the figure, you can draw the figure, line diagram of the treatment plant, or if you want to write in a theory part, the primary treatment, the primary treatment, secondary treatment, advanced treatment, and finally the disinfection and solid treatment. So disinfection is that side last process. Solid treatment figure low at the downward stage, right? So here we'll stop the class and we'll continue the class in the next session.